everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and I am going, wait, my thing just, this is a live show. Hi, my screen just went away, so I didn't know what I'm doing. I'm Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to be showing you how you can paint this fawn at home in acrylic step by step. To help me do that is my husband, John. He's going to make sure that the show goes very smoothly by focusing the camera on what you're looking at and making sure we're zoomed in and you can see everything that's going on. Hey, babe, I've got to sneeze. Can you take me on mute?
I can. Hold on. And
let me know when I am.
I think that's got you away. A little sneezy. Man, you ready?
This is the most interest I've had in a show in a while. And then, of course, like, I'm completely like, at the beginning. But the show itself will be broken down into steps. We're going to explain everything, every technique, every color mix, everything you need to know. If you check the description below, you'll see a link to our website. The traceable's there for free to download. And about a week after the show, we release a mini book, which is the steps of this live written out step by step. We also will be time stamping this. That happens within 24 hours after the show so that the timestamps and the chapter marks actually match the mini book. So that's pretty wonderful. The flickering is making me, maybe it's off or on.
I'll turn that off over there. We're having a little bit of flicker issue.
I am. There's this thing right in my, and it's just, I don't know why that's like apparently my kryptonite, but that flickering at me is my kryptonite.
That monitor was having a problem. Actually, it was causing problems across the whole thing. Going. So
was it? Okay.
Yep. We'll just we'll skip that.
None of that. I will have no idea what's going on. I will have to trust you.
Trust
is the key to art. So for today's painting, we're going to be using a 9x12 surface. You can see that I have the traceable printed out that you can see here. That's what will look like for you to use. If you want a freehand, of course, that is okay. That's always fine. But if you're not ready for that, traceable is a nice way to make it a little bit easier for you. The colors we're going to be using are titanium white, Mars black, cad yellow, phthalo blue, Diox purple, quinacridone magenta, cad red medium. You can use hue or pyrrole or naphthol red, phthalo green, and burnt sienna. We're going to start with just the green and brown today. The green and brown is going to be a great start. Let's call that the first step.
Oh, okay. You're stepping me fast.
You'll have to tell me if I'm stepped. I can't know. I have no knowing.
We have a step up now. We're step one. Baby deer in flowers.
Baby deer in flowers. I'm going to put out my phthalo green.
I have stepped down.
What does that mean?
That means that I took the step down. You're now on to the step. Teaching. You're into teaching now.
I'm into the teaching. I'm putting out my phthalo green and my burnt sienna, and we're going to use this to create a solid field to work from on our canvas. It's a good time to pick a larger brush to paint everything in. And to make my job easier today, I'm going to weirdly mist my canvas because I just want to get this on quickly. It doesn't have to be neat. It doesn't have to be tidy. We just need a dark green to begin. This is a 1.5 inch cutting brush. If it reminds you a little bit of what you see at the paint store, it's very similar in design. I'm going to be mixing these two together to make a very dark green. And then we're going to just start painting this whole canvas with a very dark green. Just paint the whole canvas a dark green. Doesn't have to be neat, doesn't have to be tidy. In fact, if you are in a stage where you want to like paint very expressively because you feel like that's an arty thing to do, that's no problem. You can do that. This layer, not all the layers, but this is a good layer. This is a good time if you want to paint the sides of your canvas to do that as well. That can really help you if you're not going to be framing the piece for later. And you can size this particular image up without having to reformulate it in any way to 16 by 20. No, 18 by 24, sorry. 9 by 12 sizes up to an 18 by 24. You want to double up the size and make it bigger. That's a thing that you can do. So really, since the fawn is just central and you have lots of flowers around it, you can kind of make it any size you want. You just add more flowers. So See, we have a nice, solid dark green background. Be sure and always rinse your brushes out after you use acrylic paint on them, because when the acrylic paint dries on the brush, that's what ruins it. And you don't want to ruin your brush. You want to dry this, and then we're going to be going on to the next step. So do you want me to dry before or after?
You tried before.
All right.
See, that way we can, you guys don't have to sit through the drying if you're skipping in the steps. Then you should know though, if you're drying at home, low heat, no heat. Don't use the heat in the drying of the process of the acrylics or really anything else, because heat's bad for paint. Causes it to react funny, oxidize quickly, do all sorts of things that you don't want. And remember, acrylic is plastic. Plastic responds to heat. It's a thermoplastic, meaning it's not thermoplastic. It's actually a polymer. Thermoplastics are like your jug in your thing. So anyway, it's plastic. It's not good for heat. You don't want to do that.
All right. So we're going to call this a step.
Okay, let me get the step graphic going. I have to find it now.
I'm going to steal John's coffee and sip it. I actually got myself like a healthy drink for the show, but I'm going to be sipping his.
There we go. Step 2.
Sipping that because it's just going to be one of those days. Let me see if I can maybe be able to get another screen going over here so I can see where we're at a little bit easier, and that will help me stay oriented on. Did you take a picture?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 2 pictures. Wonderful.
We'll find out.
All right. Oh my goodness. So how is everybody feeling today?
Oh, very good. We have all sorts. I see. Supa is saying good night from India.
Oh, good night.
It must be evening a time on the other side of that planet of ours.
You know, that's a true thing. When you're online and you teach online, you're in so many different time zones. So some of your students are going to bed when some of your students are waking up. And it's work time for some of your other students. It's like it always kind of orients around. Okay, so I'm going to put a product called Cero paper down. This is a carbon transfer paper. If you want to know how to use a traceable, I have a whole video about it. The mini books also have written out explanations of it, so you can even go grab an older mini book to use.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tape this down with a product called low tack tape. It just means the tape isn't so sticky that it'll pull my paint right off my canvas. That's what you're trying to avoid, is tearing up your canvas. I like to tape down in 2 places, and the reason for that is that if you don't, the traceable will move.
Right.
Which is a cool technique if you want it, and a real bummer if you don't.
Okay, while you're taping it down, can I ask a slightly off-topic question?
Oh, you can ask any questions that you want.
Gwen would like
any
to
questions
know,
that you want.
What's the name of that beverage line tea mint thing you were enjoying on the Waves video? There it is! What is that?
I had to fight my youngest for the last bottle. I'm going to have to go to the grocery store and get some more today. These are the Bolt House Farms Watermelon Mint Lemonade.
Ooh.
I really like it.
It's very. You show it next to the deer. Hold it.
Okay. Throw it next to the deer. I just don't want to spill on the deer.
Don't spill on it. Ooh,
we had a watermelon. Okay, if you're wondering, we had the craziest morning. There was a watermelon we purchased, and the kids were like, something is up with it. And my mother-in-law went to cut it open, and it proper exploded.
Yeah.
Over the whole kitchen. Just like somebody put a firecracker inside of it. It had rotted inside and built up gas, and so it was cut. It proper exploded. Did you know this was a thing that could happen? Because I didn't know that was a thing that was even possible.
Yeah.
So it's amazing that I'm drinking watermelon right now, because it also was a terrible watermelon smell. I didn't know watermelons could explode.
Mm-hmm.
That was not information that I had before today. And now you have it. Watermelons can explode, so watch for that. Now, to make this work, I'm going to just draw over all the structure lines with a pen or pencil so I can see where my marks are made. I'm going to press hard enough to get the yellow color, the graphite. It's not really graphite. It's actually water-soluble, removable stuff, because Cero paper is actually made for artists and art. It does not have, grease or oil in it, so you don't have to worry about that. You do want to make sure that your surface isn't warm when you use it, and because when you press down hard, you can actually leave permanent marks while your paint is warm. And you also want to make sure that it's dry so that you can remove it later. And if you're having trouble removing it, that is what's happened. Either you didn't have enough coolness on the canvas, or your paint was a little bit wet. I always find the way baby deer's body fold up to be very strange.
They just sort of...
They're like a little compact. They like fold to like origami. They're like origami.
They gotta hide in the bushes.
They gotta hide in the bushes. All right. Here we go. Now that should leave a light little mark, and I am going to give myself a better sort of line of that because I want to be able to see where my structure lines are. So I'm going to come over with chalk if I need to get better lines. I use my Cerro paper again and again and again, so that's why, sometimes it doesn't feel like the biggest expense in the world, is because I am able to reuse it as I need to. And I'm just using a little bit of chalk to make sure that I've got
just giving it a little extra line.
Yeah, a little second set of lines, so that when I put my flowers in, and also for the step-by-step photograph, this will help a little bit. So when you're like, is it the green step again? You'll be like, no, it was that. It was the traceable step. If you're freehanding it, this would be that stage to put it in if you're, doing that. So pressing a little bit harder. There we go. So see, now we know where our deer is. So as we put flowers around it, we won't put a lot of work. We won't put our best flower where our deer is laying down.
Right.
Okay, this is a step.
That's a good step.
It's a good step. My coffee again before I watermelon mint. Okay.
Here we go.
Da 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 da.
A step.
Steppy step steps. How are you guys? Oh my goodness, it has been crazy this summer. It's like everything feels. It's like summer for sure, but it's like it's almost like you're like, is it summer?
It's been spring showery.
It's been very spring showery here for us, and just trying to find that summer energy and that summer groove has really been a journey. All right, so here we go. Little deer is hanging out, and we're going to start putting in some of the background. To add to the palette right now, I'm going to add cadmium yellow, and I'm also going to add some titanium white, and I'm going to begin the busy business. And you've done this with me before if you painted with me before. Mm-hmm. If you haven't, this is a real good thing to know about because you got to go through this to get to your next stage. We've got to put in some greenery, some structure that we're going to put more defined plants into, and more flowers. But you've got to kind of get that essence in there, that feeling of it. I'm going to take, this is a number 8 cat's tongue Art Sherpa brush for my own line. But guess what? You guys could just use a round or a filbert. So if you love this, you can go get it at Michael's while supplies last. They have them online, in store online, or like at the Brush Guys or different places online. They're online and in store around the world if you want them. So I take my phthalo green and my burnt sienna and my cad yellow, and I'm going to mix them together. And I'm going to make kind of it's not a bright green, but it is a brighter green than the background. And I'm going to make little plant-like marks, little grass-like marks that are going to weave together. Mm-hmm. I think it's important to do them in directions where they're not all neatly, tidy, lined up. You want to make sure that your grass is growing multi-directionally. Some of them I'll do more phthalo green, and some I will do more yellow, some more brown. All pretty, not my darkest color, but a pretty deep color to start with. A pretty kind of neutrally dark green to start with. And I'll bring this down here. Again, we've got lots of different plant textures and lots of different flower textures, but you want to make it feel like this is a field that is thoroughly full of different growth. See how I'm just flicking back and forth? Some of the brush strokes are curved and some of them are straight. I'm just going flicking, flicking, flicking. How nice is this?
Very nice.
All right, let's keep on the toe. We're going to keep flicking the brush strokes. Here we go.
Now those brush strokes are very important here.
They're super important. You want to start the stroke with more pressure and release it at the end with a flick. Right? You want to start with more pressure and release it at the end with a flick. There you go. On the toe, I'm on the toe of my brush. Whatever brush you're using, you want to put most of the work here at the tip of it.
Yeah.
So when you hear somebody say the toe of the brush, that's what they mean is the toe. Some artists kind of mix up the parts, but it goes toe, belly, heel. Sometimes people mix up the belly and the heel. I've seen that. I've even seen that in art books. But when you think about it, it's kind of logical, toe, belly, heel. We're just making that first rough structure, right?
Yeah.
Now I'll take some of these lines around my deer. I don't want to remove the chalk entirely because I want to know what he or she is tucked into. Just pulling that in there. And in some places, I'm going to come and get some of my brown and green again, quite dark. And I'm going to weave this through. We're giving some dimensional interest, aren't we? Take a little bit of time, taking the variance of green through. This is sort of the underbushes, the undergrowth. And when you put your more detailed stuff in there, this work will help make it feel very cohesive and thought out.
You've
You've
done a bunch of wave paintings.
I have done so many. Okay, so like one, we did Acrylic April entirely based on water and landscape. So there was a bunch there. And then just in general, I do a bunch of waves. And I even have stuff like on, like quick videos on like what you're doing wrong and right in waves. So you can get kind of a fast troubleshoot of how you're painting. I've got everything from 1 hoot water to 3 hoot water. That's just, levels of beginner difficulty. They're all for beginners. If you're going to do a higher than you're comfortable with lesson, I would suggest doing the ones in 2021 because those have mini books.
Right.
We don't have mini books for the lessons before 2021. All right, look at us go there. We have a bunch of green lines.
We do have a bunch of green
We have a
lines.
bunch of green lines.
It looks very somewhat grassy.
Now, another thing that we can do while we're here, just to save us some work later, and this will save you some work later, is make another deep color of green and just kind of come up here and paint the front with another layer of the deep green. This will just save us work as you come forward in a landscape or in a floral or field or whatever you're painting, right? This just happens to be a deer and a bunch of flowers, which I have wanted to paint for a while. Right? What this is. But you'll notice that the shadows and the vibrancy is much more noticeable the closer you get. So if we take this minute right now and make sure that the front is dark, it will help us when we put our up close flowers. We don't have to worry about the exact brush strokes yet, but this is a nice time to get that work in. See how that did? Deepened it up a shade.
Yeah.
And now you can kind of almost see like the brushwork that's behind there. Let's call this a step.
Okay.
And then we'll come back and continue on our floral journey.
All right.
So excited. I am actually looking forward to painting the different types of flowers. I think this is going to be a really delightful class in brushwork and in color mixing and in form. Flowers can be for students kind of frustrating because you guys have a lot of thoughts and feelings about the flowers,
Mm-hmm.
right? In your mind, you've actually imagined flowers probably more than you have any idea that you have done. And you have this idea of what flowers should and shouldn't look like and what your flowers should and shouldn't look like. So it's really hard for you to release those conditions around them. It's a challenge. I'm going to tell you all the colors I'm putting out again. Don't worry. Okay. So right now I have added more phthalo green. I've got burnt sienna here. I've got cad yellow here, titanium white, quinacridone magenta, cad red, dox purple, and phthalo blue. Lots of lovely colors. And I'm going to come here and add another layer of different little details, and I may alternate, say, between my cat's tongue and my number 4 round,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just to give more dimensionality. So let's take a little bit of our green and some of our brown, to tone it and keep it not so vibrant. Let's go much more into our yellow. See how we're much more into our yellow? And sometimes we're going to even add a little bit of white to it. Right here, I'm going to make little marks that are short and kind of like little stems.
Mm.
Right? Little flicking mark. I like the sound it makes on the canvas. Some of them are bigger, some of them are shorter. I'm just kind of creating a different little sense of foliage that's out here. Lots of little greens. Sometimes I'm going to put like leaves. See how they're sort of layered?
Yeah.
Doing these like leaf strokes. Isn't that fun? I have a screen when I'm painting at my easel that you guys really, really love. I'm adding more yellow and more white. And it's done by an artist named Clint, Klimt. He's known for the Kiss, but he did a bunch of landscape florals. And this is actually very similar in thought process to that. Notice how I'm just varying up the different little textures and things that could be going on. Maybe a little white and green.
Mm-hmm.
Little upward flick. I am weaving a tapestry of leaves.
Ah,
You should weave.
so many
Come with me and
leaves.
weave a tapestry of leaves.
So many leaves.
So many leaves. You will love weaving the tapestry.
Whoop,
You don't really
wrong
need
one.
to take the tapestry all the way to the edge here because we have
There
the
we go.
forward-facing flowers, but you can definitely come in and got a little too much yellow in there, so softening those out. It's about varying the shapes and sizes,
Mm-hmm.
and just play with your color. You can do that. Little upward flick. Little upward flick. Look at that. And then sometimes you'll come over here and be like, oh no, more yellow and more green and maybe a little bit of white, and that's quite a light.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these marks should be bigger and some should be smaller. It's a way that you can vary up your foliage as well. Again, weaving.
Weaving.
Weave, young weaver. Learning to randomize your brush strokes and not make patterns and create these sort of natural spaces is one of the great pleasures of an art journey. Right? Don't be, super hard on yourself and be like, oh, I've got to be perfect. I've got to have a perfect little series of weaving marks. What you want to do is see if you can find a comfortable space inside yourself, being random around the canvas. A lot of our human brain is set up to not be that random.
Mm-hmm.
It really wants to see pattern and create pattern. And that's why sometimes it's, I think, very relaxing to Zen doodle. Because it fills a need in our brains.
Yeah.
But I think creating this initial space teaches you a lot about how the grass can grow. And also you're learning a lot about the ways that greens work and how you can get a lot of different green out of a few colors. This is an excellent exercise. I think one of the things that really throws artists is green on green.
Mm-hmm.
Because green on green is a monochromatic painting. It's a value painting. And then when you add stuff like this texture to it, it just initially is a bit of a mind bender. But really, it's a very good exercise for you. And just put these around. I'm going to enjoy the process of making marks and filling the field. Fill that field. Rinse out. And we're going to call this a step.
A step.
A
Okay.
step.
I have to go push that step button. Mouse. There's the mouse. And a step is happening.
And a step has been born. I'm going to mist my palette.
Someone who I know said that they weren't going to drink coffee and then hijacked somebody else's coffee because they didn't want to make
I hijacked
a cup of coffee for themselves.
Your truth is true.
In the show.
Your truth is true.
And they even did so with my Pennsylvania non-green screenable cup.
You know, stuff happens. I like to be invisible.
She was trying to be sneaky, saying, I'm not drinking any coffee. This cup is invisible. No, it's just
Can you show how
holy.
you're using pressure with the brush to get the fatter leaves? Okay, so
my coffee.
I am going to take this and this. I'm just going to use my paper. So when I'm trying to do the flicks, I'm on the toe.
Hold on, let me get to the flick camera.
Oh, is there a flick camera? I don't know what camera we're on, so.
Side camera.
Tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready. I'm watching. We're zooming in on it.
We're just doing this on the flick. It's very light. The flick. And then when I want to do bigger leaves, I can go like that. When I want to impress that, and then I pull back for the little other mark.
I see.
Basically, in any stroke, you're beginning it with pressure and releasing. You might be stroking from the bottom to the top, or you might be pulling down. You could start with a light pressure and bring that down, or you could start with a heavy pressure and release. I find it's easier to release. I can get a lot of difference in the lines on any brush just by being light with my pressure and having a decent load. You there?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's kind of how that happens. That's how that's done. Heather C says engage the flick camera. Oh, the flick camera. Now, for me, this whole painting is about these flowers. I'm going to start with yellow, because the thing is that yellow is, most of your yellows, especially at home, but even professional yellows, will not really be pigmented enough for this. So take a second, dry your surface so you know you're not picking up green into whatever you're about to do.
Whoa! Shh. That was loud. Don't let that happen. Gotta be quiet. So, thank you guys again for joining us. It is nice to see you all here on a Monday, July 12th. It's a July kind of day out here in Pennsylvania. We had rain all night and rain again today. But see, we live in the kind of mountainy area, so that doesn't really count because rain just comes and goes here. Why I gave you guys a weather report, I don't know. But
What?
Dawn was asking, what's Zen Doodle? More on topic.
Zen doodles are, well, that's actually a trademark concept, but what they are is a type of meditative doodling that uses structured patterns to create large and small scale drawings that allow you to reach a meditative state while you're doing it. So only one group of people are allowed to call it like, a Zentangles is what they call them, is their registered thing. And then, but any sort of meditative doodling applies. And there's a lot of different teachers out there, and they should be very calm. That's what I would say. When you're looking for a meditative teacher, look for a calm teacher. I'm going to come here and I'm going to paint in the shapes that will be my yellow with white first. This will be a fussy bit of kit for me. I'm using my number 4 round.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to really layer some of these in as they come together in clusters.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you so much. We really appreciate the support. It's through all the patronage that we were able to add things like mini books and all the extra resources that we're now adding. We always try to put your support back into the studio and making art funner for you.
And Karen was asking.
You help us always.
Karen was asking, are you making watercolor brushes yet?
I am not, but I have a list of recommended watercolor brushes that I now have, and I probably will make watercolor brushes.
We're going to have actually in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have some really great in-person brush conversations.
Yep.
Where the brush is going to hit the canvas. We're going to see what happens when you put paint on surface and you get a brush involved.
Surface is a big deal. And here's the thing. I think what happens is sometimes people have an idea of what they think would make a great brush. And then, there's the reality of what it's like for us to paint with whatever they've made.
So, yeah.
Make some of these little white flowers bigger. Everything that's white is actually not the little white clusters. These will be the yellow, and you want to have an ample amount of the yellow.
Oh, Maggie asks a really good question.
I would love to answer Maggie's question. Thank you for asking a question, and thank you for being here, Maggie.
You just don't know yet. Sorry, I had to cough.
Oh, I like Maggie's question. I see Maggie's question, but I'll let you ask.
No, go ahead.
Ask me like you're the ship's computer.
That's true. I have one job, and I repeat what you guys say to Cinnamon. Me and Sigourney Weaver, we got a thing. Maybe Vanna White. We're in that class of I do stuff for the host. Okay, so Maggie would like to know, just a quick off-topic question. For the meetup, should I bring anything or just myself?
Just bring yourself.
Do you guys need anything? Hugs? Hugs. We're short on hugs. Pandemic has shorted us of hugs.
Depending on the state of the pandemics and the Delta variant, yeah, maybe hugs.
Hugs. That's about it. No, just show up.
Just show up. If you want to have a picture taken with me, you might want to bring your phone.
It's good to bring some ATC cards.
That could be helpful. We're going to be painting some ATCs.
So if you want to trade artwork with people, that's good. ATC cards. But
I don't think we officially said there was a trade, though.
Oh, we're going to be doing the public group event. You want to tell people what we're doing?
So on July, I think it's 25th. I'm going to let my moderators correct my dates. If you go to the Art Sherpa event in July, which is at the Shawnee, on the last day of the event from 1 to 3, we have a free meetup where you can come meet John and I and also paint an ATC.
Mm-hmm.
and swap it. So that could be kind of fun if that was something that you wanted to do, if you wanted to meet us. That could be super fun. If you didn't want to meet us, that would not be as fun.
I like meeting us. I think we're I mean, like, I
this
wake
is
up.
not the event. So if you go there and you're like, oh my goodness, the event has tickets. Yes, there's only one left anyways. But the event is a 3-day thing where you paint with me like all day and eat with me and see me constantly. The meetup is just a quick little get together for free. They just have what we decided is that when we do the paid events, we want to make sure that we have free community meetups where it's possible. You know, where you can. I'm trying to make bigger and smaller little dots.
Bigger and smaller dots.
I'm also trying to place them in the grass in the way you might expect to see them naturally. And I have to leave room for other clusters of color. That's an interesting thing when you're painting like a wildflower scene like this.
Mm-hmm.
You can use the reference to help you. And I did. So what I did was I could not find the picture that I wanted. So I digitally created this. So this actually weirdly is technically, even the resource, the reference is technically my art because I licensed the pieces and then digitally created it. So it's actually like even more and more my art.
Mm-hmm.
But like whenever you're using a reference, you had to think about like, yes, this is how nature chose to grow her flowers. And she had a good plan. Like she had a plan about like distribution of resources and water, but your plan is about design. So you may have to argue with Mother Nature a little bit when you're doing your own floral. I am painting, if you'll notice these spots, they seem like kind of random shapes, but they're actually the contour shapes of flowers.
Oh.
At the end of this, I'll show you what I mean when I am putting them in. I don't try to paint like every single petal. I paint the shape and color. Paint the size, paint if it's facing me or facing away. You know, those are the things that I worry about painting. And you'll really like this trick with the white because it will help you with your yellow flowers just in general. Other thing to remember is that you've got to have some big, some small, some peaking, some not peaking, size and variance. It's important in flowers. Sometimes flowers are facing away from you, sometimes they're facing to you. All right. I think I'm getting to a place where I'm happy. And the other thing that you can see when you have the white out is if you have enough yellow, you'll feel it in the white, because white and yellow are kind of a similar value in the paint scale. Let's call this a step because we've got to get these in to put anything else in.
Okay.
It'll get a little complicated and interesting, but this will at least get these in. Okay.
All right. Let's see.
How's everyone doing today?
Pretty good. This is really nice.
I ask that a lot, but I know people are coming in regularly, so I'm kind of like greeting every time we, because you know, sometimes you come in during the beginning of the live and sometimes you're like, wait, there's a live, my notification didn't show up till really late.
What is an ATC?
An ATC is an artist trading card. It is 2.5 by 3.5 inches. It can be in any media. It can be in any media and any structure. Like, so sometimes people, I like handmade ones that are art, you know, but I've seen people do ATC cards that were quilts, so I don't want to say it's limited. These were originally created for artists to trade original works with each other, and by being 3.5 by 2.5, you know, they're baseball trading card slabs. So you could stick them in sleeves to protect them, and you could trade original pieces. The ones that you see for sale on Etsy and eBay are ACEOs. That's an artist trading card that's for sale. So there's a whole collector's market. Jasmine Beckwith, who many of you know as Strangeling the artist, actually started a lot of her credibility as an artist being collected in artist trading cards.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's how she made her name. Well, I mean, she was going to make a name anyways. We know that. I'm going to take a little bit of my blue and some of my white. And I'm going to come around here and add some blue flowers. Sometimes I'm going to have them be a little more white. I'm going to tuck little bits of blue here and there. Blue is not common in flowers. On this one, I might paint it a little more completely.
You wouldn't know that coming from Texas. Because every summer, bang, they're out there.
Yeah, and they're protected for a reason, but blue is just not a color that nature makes all the time.
That is one thing that I really appreciated Texas did. They said, don't pick the really pretty blue flowers because we want them to keep growing. And so since nobody picks them now, they're everywhere because they're natively growing there. The bluebonnets.
So these are like a cornflower. I'm going to put them a few places. Just tucking in the blue. Blue's nice as a way to tuck in. And it'll be a nice like gateway flower to the purple. If I get it a little dark blue, I can always come back with a little bit of white. And you can see I'm just kind of painting the cornflower shape there. I love being able to mix the flowers around. Super enjoyable to me. This is a 3-hooter for a reason. Not because the techniques are particularly hard, guys. They're all pretty beginner-friendly techniques, but because it's involved. Whenever you have something that has a lot of pattern or anything, Scam Likely keeps calling me.
Oh, I was wondering who keeps ringing. I thought I kept hearing
Scam Likely
vibration.
is just
I was like,
so obsessed with me.
I was like, did I leave my phone somewhere? And it's just bzz, 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 bzzing.
All right. Got lots of little bits of blue. And since blue and purple are kind of adjacent, I'm going to come over here and grab some of my purple. I will put a little quinacridone into my purple. And I'm going to grab some white.
Release the quinacridone.
Release the quinacridones. So I'm mixing up kind of some different stuff. I like to have some different... I want the purple to show. We have these sort of like very distinctly purple flowers, and then there's these like kind of off purple flowers. And so I've got to kind of balance those in there with each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how they are. A nice little cluster of them coming up here. See, we're just planting flowers. What are you doing? Planting flowers. You can always get a lighter purple and play with the different values of purple, tapping them around.
Yeah.
Flowers are different shapes. And the trick with making something like this work is finding that balance of like, oh my gosh, you know, it's just sort of everywhere. Okay. Maybe more cluster there. Rinse, 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 rinse. I'm going to add some fluid white to my mix.
All right.
This is Fluid Acrylic by Golden. It's a similar consistency to craft paint. It is not craft paint because it has a lot of pigment in it, but it is a similar, craft paint is a soft body paint, and this is as well. So that's what they have in common. I'm going to grab a small detail brush. Let's call this, let's do a step here since I'm going to do a whole new flower, whole new technique.
Okay.
We'll call it a whole new thing.
We will
since it's a whole new thing.
Step to the step.
Step to the step to the step. So on the next one, we're going to do slightly tidier flowers. These are going to be a 5-petal sort of star flower. We want to have a little detail to them so they have a slightly different feeling structure. And that will help them feel different in the field, but you don't want them, again, you don't want to get so bogged down in the details that we're here. I mean, we'll be here for a minute, but you don't want to be here for 100 hours.
Right.
So I disbelieve some of those 100-hour posts. I really do. I'm like, what were you doing with your free time?
Well, it's like, yeah, I mean, you have to think about that. That's like 2.5 work weeks of like You get up, put 8 hours of work into a painting, Monday through Friday for 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. You better have a lot done.
That-
I'm going to show you this flower again.
Yeah,
While John's
it's-
like telling you how crazy we think that is.
You know how
I'm
much
gonna come
paint you
here
put down in
and
that
I'm going
time?
to just make little marks. See how that is?
Hold on, do that again.
Okay.
Whoa, zoom in there.
These are tiny little guys. They're going to be, this is going to be a bit of a Zen doodle. Yeah, we're just sort of touching those little ones out.
Mm-hmm.
These little ones are going to be touched out like that. And they will be in the purple range, but almost white. I'm going to be making just a ton of these.
Little tiny flowers.
Too many of them.
Let's put the picture-in-picture back up in here. Ba-doop-boo.
You guys can see how much.
You know what I forgot?
We've got a lot going on.
Branding.
It's a thing, man. It's going to be a minute to get to the deer.
Can't forget our branding.
But you know, every once in a while, it's nice to do an involved project,
With many little flowers.
right? With many, many little flowers.
You know, I prefer many, many little flowers over splatters.
Do you? Oh, 'cause
Much
it's on your
less lens
camera.
cleaning.
You don't like it being all over your camera. That's just,
Well, I might be slightly biased.
you might be. You'll notice, like, sometimes I tuck them behind the greenery, in between the plants. And now these will show more as the flower that they are, which is the light purple to the white, when we put the yellow in, which we'll do next up. Just running along here. You could probably also get away with my dotting tool to do this. Probably work really well. A lot of tools would accomplish this goal. I don't think 7 years ago when I started YouTube, I would have even attempted a painting like this online.
Yeah.
One, because I would have figured we would be here for 12 hours, which we won't be. But it would have been a lot. It's very strange. The having to teach live and explain everything I do
Mm-hmm.
and narrate it has really changed my relationship to art in general.
It's really interesting that when you narrate what you do,
It changes it for you.
I would say that's been the most interesting part of both of our journey is breaking up that multitasking of, oh, I'm gonna ask you a question about, say, paintbrushes, while doing this completely other thing that requires another part of my brain.
And now you know a lot about art technique, which, like, the way somebody knows a lot about football who watches football.
Dude, I am like, if there was a fantasy painting league, I would have all the masters.
Yeah, and know exactly what their best moves were.
That's right. It'd be like, no, I'm gonna put Da Vinci into this play. You didn't see that coming, did you? No, he was a good artist. You just don't see him come from the back. He's got that long game.
Or something.
Here I am, like, talking smack about fantasy art.
Football.
No. It's some other sport that involves little green fairies.
Oh, wait. I just put a flower in her ear.
That's okay. You haven't painted her
I'm
in.
going to paint over it.
It's behind her.
She has a hidden flower in the baby doe's ear. Or a baby fawn. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know this deer that well. We will by the time we're done painting her, but right now I don't. Just coming through here. This is when you guys wish I would time lapse.
Actually, I kind of enjoy the talking part of this,
Do you?
where we get to hang out.
Some people are always like, I just put you on and listen to you talk. I'm like, okay. This is a fun little bit of time.
And it really is.
You don't have to be perfect with every. You can't be perfect with every flower. That is sometimes people's inclination is to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Too much paint. Perfect with every flower. And if that is your nature, that's okay. Spend the time, be perfect with each flower. You're painting, you should be able to do what you want.
That's true.
I'm going to add some more over here to the far right, John.
Okay. We'll go over here to the far. Ooh, little one.
Yeah. We need to add some little ones over here. And then rinse out. I'm going to do an interesting thing. I'm going to load up quite a lot of my dioxazine purple. I'll go ahead and let a little white into it so that, one, it's more fluid, but also so that you can see it's purple. We're going to dot the center of these flowers. You don't have to dot every center because sometimes they're facing away.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to dot some of them. Don't dot your white flowers, which are going to be your yellow flowers. So there's some stuff to keep track of.
And I'm going to give a big art hug to Shanari and to Patty and to all the other folks who are just getting back from the hospital. You guys need to get well, get ready, and get back to painting.
That's right. All right, here we go. I'm just making the dark purple. And, you know, where you have little flower shapes, you can add some of that. And that will help also give them, see how they'll like have a little bit of detailing.
Mm-hmm.
That's important.
It's incredibly important. It makes, you know what's in the details? The little fairies. The little tiny fairies. They live there. You have to look closely.
Angels are in the details.
Little magical creatures. Everybody seems to call them something different. I noticed that when I was in Ireland, it was always the fairies that did it.
Well, it is the fairies that did it. Let's be honest. Hydrate up. Check the positioning. After very detailed moments, make sure that you're paying attention to your neck, and your back, and your head, and that you're not hunched over. I'm going to dry this, and then we're going to call this a step.
Okay.
And we're going to come back and add some yellow.
All right. So while she's doing that, I'm going to say, before she gets to step, let me find my graphic. For text notifications. Boop, boop, boop. There you go. I'm going to make her disappear for a second. Oh, no, not that one. Come back. Make her go. There it goes. Okay. Send the message, all one word, the Art Sherpa, to 33222, and then you'll be able to get notified. Now, you send it, the phone number is 33222, and the message is the Art Sherpa. And that's what you got to do there. Okay.
Okay.
Now, now we're going to step.
We're stepping.
This
I
is
would say
step 8.
thank to Beth O'Brien. Thank you. Really appreciate the support. Good night. I'll put out a little yellow over here. I'm going to do that one so it's close to my red so I can do some yellows and oranges. And then also so I'm close to the white. And we're going to get some of this yellow. And I'll use my number 4 round again because it's the same brush I initially painted them. And I'm going to begin with just a smidge of my Cad Red into my cadmium yellow, and it's just going to make it almost like a cad yellow deep.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to come through and start with putting this yellow, sort of cad yellow deep, on these flowers. I want to cover up all of the white. Fix under me. Oh, my dog just ripped one. Make a face. It's not my painting. Oh, it's a bad one too. It's rough. Can you smell it through the screen? She likes to sleep
That's
under my
funny.
desk and fart on me. She's so funny. So see, now the yellow is starting to happen, isn't it?
Yeah.
I do want it to be a little bit in the bias of the orange so that when you can come back, you can come in and put the bright yellow on there
Mm-hmm.
to create those spaces. And again, I don't want the white peeking out. I do want to cover it up.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how you get a very luminous yellow over a dark background.
It is very luminous.
When I was first teaching on YouTube, I had to learn how to correct for the materials you guys might have at home. Like, not just paint to the materials I had in my studio, but to paint to all the potential materials you guys had in your own home.
Mm-hmm.
Might be using from, craft paint to more fluid paints to different types of products I might not even have experience with. Patty Hoffman! Oreo is sending love. Thank you, Oreo. Oreo. And puppy treats for Twix. But that's why Twix is farting, is the puppy treats. Let's be honest, that's where the farts came from. I'm sure she is. So, pulling in, just getting the yellow. It's just, it is a time-consuming type of project. Right? We see these images and we know we want to paint them, but to know what's involved, I do like this part of the live teaching because conceptually, as a new student, you would be like, I don't even know what's involved. Right? I don't even know what people are wanting out of that. How many layers do I have to do? Oh, many layers. I'm going to have to ask my studio assistant to sit down, not bump the table.
Just little layers of yellow.
Little layers of yellow.
And this is important to make those have the contrast.
Well, if you start out with this kind of bright yellow that has a bit of an orange bias to it, you can come back through with some very bright yellow, and in just a few brush strokes create quite a dramatic yellow flower. But even this is lovely, right?
This is very lovely.
You can always add little bits there, but even as you paint the yellow in the green, you'll be like, oh, wow, that really doesn't have the coverage. So this is just a great way to get the good result in your yellow.
Yep.
I'm consuming because you got to paint them twice, but the effect is well worth the effort. And this is just another way that you learn processes to keep your paintings very bright. Change your water often. Make sure you put a light color under your transparent colors like yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once you get it there, you rinse out. I'm going to pull out a little bit of my fluid white, but I'm going to get a lot of my yellow into it. I'm going to make a very bright ducky yellow. I'm going to come here and add some petals. Not all the petals. They're just little tips of petals. And that kind of creates that sense of, oh wow, like these are nice contrast to these.
Yeah.
And that takes that yellow to that new space. Notice I'm not painting it on my orange. I'm leaving that contrast against these bright pops of yellow.
It really does make it cool.
Decisions that we make as an artist. So many ways to get something done, right, guys?
Yeah.
You know, I can show you this technique, but maybe you have a different way you like to do your technique. That's okay. Taking little curved or dotting strokes, and I just push them through. Every once in a while, you'll see me roll my paint to the tip of my brush. That's to keep the load good. Just little bits of bright, bright yellow. You could do a whole wall mural with this technique. Be quite stunning.
Mm-hmm.
I would use bigger brushes than this.
Oh, yeah. Now, there was a question earlier I missed about painting over latex paint on a wall with this. Can you?
Yeah. If it's latex and not oil-based, yes, you can.
Oh.
And you can also, if you're doing large works in your house, you can do the underpainting of it. You know how we always have an underpainting where we're blocking everything in? You can do that with house paint. So if you know you're going to have a blue sky, you can paint in a rough like layer of blue, and you can even ombre it with white. Before you get your good acrylics out to create your sky drama, you can lay a lot of that in with house paint. And then just finish it with your good paint.
That's kind of cool to know. So
Our
if you wanted
yellow little guys are so awesome.
like, I can totally imagine a monolithic deer like this done, you know, on like an 8-foot by 12-foot wall.
Oh, it would be so. Oh, I gotta check my back. Sorry. All right, this is a step.
It's good for you to check your back. Tell everyone else to do it too.
It's very important to check your posture, your back. If you're hurting, is your neck hurting, are your shoulders hurting, what's hurting? You know, when we're painting, we can get into a real state of kind of being detached from our bodies and our lives, right? We get into that real mental space. And the issue with that is that your body could be telling you about things hurting and you don't hear it because you're arting and you're in that state and you can't hear anything when you're arting. And so it's important for you to make sure that you are listening to your body.
That's good.
Okay. Now, we have daisies and poppies. Daisies, I'm going to begin with a little quinacridone.
Daisy.
And my fluid white.
That's Hal's favorite song.
Yes, it is. And I'm just making a nice bright pink.
Ooh.
I'm going to make little brush strokes. That paint out the shape of the daisy. I also know that I will be putting in poppies.
Mm.
So we'll call this my red layer. Putting in the pink.
I'm going to have to be more careful. I keep trying to inhale my coffee instead of drinking it.
Yeah, it doesn't breathe well, coffee.
No.
Gonna come through and add the pops of pink. Using my detail brush. My quinacridone magenta and white. I'm putting in these bright popping pink wonderful flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Coming back with some white to help define that shape maybe a little bit more. I know I'm going to have a yellow center. So that's something I'm also taking into account, is that I have a yellow center there. I'll rinse out, and then I'm going to take my quinacridone and my cad red and I mix them together. I get a very interesting kind of just vibrant red. And there's these little weird little tiny little red flowers that are out there. They're small.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go ahead and paint some of those. Weaving the tapestry of color that is this field. Right?
Man, I know it's a lot of work, but it really looks good.
It's a lot of work, but it really looks good. When you're done, it'll be one of the pieces that you're the most proud of.
Yeah.
Yeah. That you feel like you know you got the most out of. You just have to realize that this is some projects. Another thing that's hard for you as a beginner is stamina. Some projects are involved, and you may only have, 6 hours of stamina for any given painting project.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You have to kind of know that about yourself and then pick projects that are in that timescape.
And our high five to all of our super chatters and supporters out there.
Thank you so much, guys.
It makes it wonderfully helpful just to make sure the lights stay on and we can afford all the stuff that we do here. I just I can't say how grateful we are to be able to do this. So
I'm going to take some yellow. Add some yellow to some daisies, as you would.
you're dotting all over.
Dotting all over, just little yellows in the daisies, because that's where they would go. Okay, let's call this a stage, and then we'll finish with the poppies.
Okay.
The poppies are kind of their own deal.
Mm-hmm.
I know, we haven't even gotten to the fun yet. This lesson! Woo!
Step 10.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a multi-step painting for sure, and but
Hmm.
it's going to be bookmarked and chapter marked. So later, when you come back to it, you'll be like, "What was those little purple flowers?" And I'm like, you'll be able to find it on the step. You'll be able to find what they were and be able to see the demo and go, "I understand what I have to do here." Okay, I'm going to go into my number 4 round again for my poppy. I'm going to pull out a little bit of my red. And I'm going to deepen my red with a bit of the dioxazine purple. See how that makes a darker red? I'm going to come here and make my poppy shapes. My poppy shapes are kind of basically round. And very focal. I'm just trying to make sure I got enough poppies to go around.
Hmm.
Okay. I'll rinse that out very thoroughly. I'm going to dry this real quick, and then I'm going to come back with my pops of color that turn these into poppies.
And as she said before, it's important not to use heat. This isn't a heat gun. This is just a hair dryer, and oftentimes she puts it in the no heat setting, and that's how she's able to use it, just to use the air to dry the surface. And yeah, if you guys want to find information about the materials we're using, the traceables, the links, all that kind of stuff, it's down in the description down below. Gravity's working.
So Lula asked, what's dioxazine purple in the Senelia abstract? It is actually the one that's just labeled purple. They don't have a deep dioxazine. They have kind of a lighter version of it, which in some cases is easier to use. Like I find during the Halloween paintings, I actually like the pouch. I don't remember the number from memory, but it's the purple.
Mm.
Like, the primary blue is actually their phthalo blue.
And if you're over in Australia, Monique would like to know, are you familiar with the Montmartre range of acrylic paints? Are they good? What do you think?
I like Montmartre products. I have their easel, and I've had a really good experience. The few times I've had to buy Montmartre, I've had a good experience with their products. And here's more important: I have a large group on Facebook, and people they tell us what their customer experience is with any product, and we don't have Montmartre complaints. I can tell you who we have complaints about, but we don't have Montmartre complaints, and we have plenty of people from Australia in the group. So if it was giving them trouble, we would hear about it.
Right.
So, and I kind of dig the guy. He's got a really cool YouTube channel. Sometimes when channels are older, YouTube tries to suppress them and push them down. But it's a good channel, and you can see all the products, and there's good projects, and actually it comes from a very informed art place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Unexpectedly awesome. I'm going to grab some of my Pure Cad Red.
It's interesting. YouTube is all about the new.
Yeah.
And if it's not new, it assumes it's not good. And sometimes in art, stuff is,
Good.
valid for more than a minute.
And a half.
So when you put up a video that says, here is how you do a brushstroke, that's pretty much going to stay the same until the brush or the stroke or gravity or the surface changes. The brushstroke is the brushstroke is the brushstroke. So a newer video isn't necessarily a better video.
Yeah, Mark Criley is still every bit as awesome as Mark Criley always was.
Right. So, I would say, yeah.
I would check it out. It's a good channel. It has valid stuff.
Montmartre's awesome. I'm just saying that YouTube is hard on people because it assumes that because you didn't make a video today, it's not valid.
Right. Or if you've been making videos a minute. Just, but I hold on because DeFranco told me to. And also, I love what I do. But I would definitely check out Montmartre. I think he's really good.
He has skills.
Some skills, yes. I'm adding another kind of highlight. Like this is like the petals a bit in the light. Just come in here. And then when I have that, right, and now it's just, look at this. Isn't this just the stunning?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead. I could probably do this with just purple, but I'm going to go ahead and do it with black because I think the black is going to be a nice little touch. I'm going to take a little black. And come here. I'm going to load up my brush on the tip. Right, like right there on the tip. And I'm going to come into the centers. And add little black centers. And if they don't, just instantly become poppies.
Oh, wow. They really do.
There we go. Poppies! We painted that very involved background. Are you guys just freaking out on how good this is?
I'm just in love with this. This is amazing.
All right, so that was that, and now we have to paint a deer. I'm going to dry everything so I don't drag paint all over my canvas, and then we'll come back and we'll start painting our deer.
That's a good idea. Man, I like that little field of flowers. You would think that it would be easier. Well, actually, it is pretty easy. You just painted the same flower over and over and over a bunch of times. But that's the problem, is it just takes a lot of time to paint a lot of flowers. So keep that in mind when doing this, that a lot of the challenge is the repetitive nature of it. And if you just stick with it, at the end of that, you'll end up with this wonderful field of flowers. So
it's going to be, this is going to be stunning. One of our favorites.
I think so too. So now we're going to be going on to the next step. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Now, are we past flowers here?
Well, until we get to the front flowers.
Well, of course, yes.
Now we are all deer for a minute.
We're going to be,
and then we're going to be flowers at the end. So it goes flowers, deer, flower.
That makes sense.
It's a flower deer sandwich.
That's a cute little deer.
It's a cute little deer, right?
Yep.
I'm going to put out a little more of my burnt sienna over here by my yellow because we're going to be making some different little deer colors. And I'm going to block in some information about the deer first. And I'm going to ask my fabulous studio assistant to get me fresh water.
All right.
Fresh waters. And I'm going to, it's important to change out your water because it helps you keep your paint not dull and muddy.
Right, yeah.
I'm going to take a little of my burnt sienna and some of my cad yellow, and I'm going to make kind of an ochre. Right in here. And then I'm going to add white. And get kind of an off-white, like a parchment color. I'm going ahead and just using the fluid paint because it's here.
Oh.
And I'm going to look at my ear. Paint in some of that white marking. And I'm going to put in all the kind of creamy marking that I have. And then that'll let me put in my brown, and it will help me get the positioning of just different parts of the deer.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes in things, you're just breaking down a complicated object into something less complicated as you can. This is not the first deer we painted on, baby deer we painted on the channel, because we did one for an acrylic April.
Mm-hmm.
That I was really, really fond of. It's always interesting to me, like why the markings on baby deer are what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of evolution about this, I think. why baby deer have the markings that they have. We're putting those in.
So are you just using water and not a painting medium?
No, you can use airbrush medium if you want to and change for water. Professional artists will sometimes do that because they want to keep the acrylic as pure as possible for the archival nature of the work.
Mm.
And if that's important to you, you can do that. It's a little bit of overkill, I think, for new artists to do that. One, it's hard to find airbrush medium, and it's not necessary. If somebody says to you, by the way, that it's super necessary, they're not. They don't understand their materials. It's not an option, but not super necessary. The other place I know I can have a little bit of this light color is at this very unusual belly fur. We have some nice light color at the belly fur. Kind of coming up the leg. Maybe a little bit will be peeking out from the grass. Now I'm going to take my detail brush and load with black. Paying very close attention to my eye shapes. Some big doe eyes. Little big doe eyes. Gotta love our big doe eyes. Something I'm going to want to do just to make sure that I'm good is I need to make sure that any eyes that I have are on the same plane in the skull. And you want to do that because your eyes are not significantly higher or lower than the other. Your noses are a very interesting structure. I want to capture that as well. They have kind of like a weird hourglass shape. A little bit of a lower lip there. I'm going to go ahead and use my brown. Just, all right if it has a little yellow in it, but I'm going to start with my brown. And paint the rest of my deer brown. Just a little bit to start with. Cover this whole area. We can get into the details. We can do little highlights and lowlights and things that make our deer more deer-like. And it's true, a lot of this will be in the grass or in the flowers, so we won't see all the parts. And what will be hard here is because the shape of the deer is so folded and compact, and we don't really see some of the things that we might look for to feel confident in, shape or body or space. You'll have to believe that everything is okay. You'll just have to just believe in it. Huh? No, I want coffee. Or wait, are you sip floating? Put that down and I'm gonna sip it up. I'm gonna sip it up, sir. You think you have one on me. You have nothing on me.
I snuck away and made a cup of coffee.
That's okay. That's allowed. These are long lives.
I can't push pause, so I just sneak away. I put mute. Okay, so question.
Hmm.
If acrylic is about layers, why not paint all the deer brown and then the highlight in white and cream?
Just because it's a way to start.
Because it's oh, uh, so you try to preserve your whites because they're hard to paint later.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Oh,
Just putting down structures that I can see and then anchor back to later.
blocking in.
I'm blocking in.
Ah,
It really isn't. You could do the opposite. It
you
just
could.
doesn't, it's not particularly, sometimes stuff feels like super secretive or like there's a secret reason why. And sometimes it's just, oh, that's just was
It is.
easier.
You chose that place to put your foot on the path.
Yeah. You sometimes just have to choose a place to start.
All right, I'll let you tell them more about that.
So right now I'm just trying to get the basic blocking in. And trying to make sure that my eyes are in that same kind of space that you need, or they're at least, the right shape relationship to each other. And then also, we have good structure for things like the head and the ears. And sometimes you just have to start a place. It's really easy to get frozen in a painting and be so like, where am I going to start? That you don't do anything, right? You have to make decisions and you just pick a place that you can see a way into the decision and then you go with it. I'm going to mix a little black and brown together and then a smidge of white. And this will be kind of the gray that goes around the nose. Maybe a little lighter gray. Around the nose, it kind of comes out a little bit, and then there's a little kind of point in. So I've got to figure out how to capture that. There we go. Just the start of it. Just the start of it. This does not have to be particularly neat and tidy at this stage. It does not have to be particularly perfect at this stage. You just want to make sure that you've got something to start with, which we do now. And we haven't even put any markings in or values or fur or shading or anything. So that was a good question, Melissa. And I think this is going to be a step. But I think it's just really important to remember there are 1,000 ways into a painting. You just have to find yours. Sometimes teachers get locked into a technique or a concept or a process. They get trained into a certain way of thinking, and then they see the world from that or their art world from that very rigid stance. But what I've learned in the years of being a painter is there's a lot of ways into a picture. There's a lot of ways into your concept. There's fine art tips does these hyper realistic pieces, and it's like it just I would sketch the whole thing in and just continue to build and build and build and build, but he just starts from like one end and like a little printer goes across. That's not wrong. That's just his way. It's a good way. Um, Laying it out isn't wrong or right. It's just a good way. If you paint with me for a while, I'm going to show you a lot of ways in that journey. You're going to find your way, and that's the big thing is you need to find your way. This is a step, baby.
It is the way.
It is the way, and I have spoken.
All right.
I'm so glad my babies were not babies for 50 years. It's a long infancy. We're making a Mandalorian joke if you don't know what we're referencing. Mandalorian is a show on Disney Plus. So that looks really good, right? So we have the beginning. And from the beginning, we can go anywhere we need, do anything we want. We are empowered. Sippy, sippy. So here we are, and now we know where stuff is, and we can begin to paint the details and things that we want. Now I am going to take my chalk or some type of marking agent. There it is. And I'm going to make sure that's what I'm going to be making sure. I want my eyes lined up.
Oh, that's hot coffee.
Hot coffee. I'm going to take a little bit of my black and my white here. I'm going to make a lighter gray. I'm going to come to the outside of the lid.
No.
Come to the outside of the lid. Gray inset corner. We're going to just be doing the eyes for a minute. Eyes and nose, maybe. Like a straight up little process here. Where I have to get darker black in, I will get darker black involved. Baby animals have big eyes.
Yes, they do.
Now, I can't really do the lashes until later, just simply because they're going to layer over fur. But there's a lot that I can do. Like I can take a little bit of my brown and yellow. Kind of add some light in the eye. Get back into my black. Just building out the structure of the eye. There are places to get in the weeds, and for me, the eyes are where I like to get into the weeds, so to speak. That's when I like to get involved in it. There's some great reflections, so I'm going to take a little bit of my blue and white, maybe a little black or brown, gray, just so that it's there, kind of sky colored. I'm going to add a little reflection over the top of that eye. A little bit of the brighter reflection in that blue. A little bit of this inside your duck. Maybe a little brown and white and yellow. Lighter. Need a light for color. If I can get more brown in it, I will.
Mm-hmm. And big art high five. We had a Victoria just signed up for our patronage. So I'm going to give her a big art high five.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it.
If you want to find out more information about how to join the patronage yourself, you go to theartsherpa.com/patron, Patron, patron. And it will just tell you a little bit about how you can help support us. Plug our stuff.
Shameless self-promotion.
Shameless self-promotion. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and do all those internet tubey things that make the world go round that we forget to ask about a lot. But you should do them because they help us. They do. We just are bad about asking about it. And for the two of you who pushed the wrong button, you push that thumbs down instead of thumbs up. You got to move over. So go over there and check it. You got unthumbs down it and then thumbs it up. So two people have made a mistake here, clearly.
That's what happened. I made a mistake.
You made a mistake.
Wrong, internet.
You have to go fix that.
So here we are. We've got the eyes in. We've got kind of the detail is starting to go around that. We can begin to speak a little bit about the nose. It's in a similar conversation space. I'm going to take my black and my blue together. And a little bit of white. And across the top of my nose. And I think it's so fascinating how actually super duper shiny it is. I'm going to add a little bit of white here. For the outside here.
Outside. That's nose highlighting.
Nose highlighting. I'm going to highlight the nose a little bit. Maybe over highlight it. So I will kind of blend that in.
This dough is a little nosy.
The dough's a little nosy is true. I'm going to add a little kind of highlight on the inside of here. Get a little bit of that going. And then a shadow underneath to help it take form and shape. A little bit of gray. And pull it out. And like the lower lip has got a little bit of fur. And then back down into maybe just a hint of...
Just a hint.
Just a hint. Back into the highlight. So sometimes I have to move things down. Like sometimes you put it in, you're like, not in quite the right space. And then you're like, oh, I just found it. And that's terrific. Let's call that a step because that's a lot to take in. The eyes and the nose, man, it's a thing.
It's a thing.
So you want to get those in, and then everything else kind of goes like smoothly. Peggy says, I used some old Sunny Fancy acrylic paint yesterday, and they are amazing. Seems like the last paint I buy ends up being the best. Do you think so? Or WN Winsor & Newton, both are very good. So, no, Sennelier, they're fine acrylic. That company is like old, like Winsor & Newton is old, but has retained its process, its formulation, its chemist masters, its old world reality. You can still go to Paris and have your paint made there, like proper.
Yeah, they're one of the good classic paint companies in the world. The historic paint company.
You really are.
So it's hard to say more than they have hundreds of years of experience. I think at least 200 years of experience. I think somewhere around there, but at least 100 years. They've been around for a while. They've been making paint for a bit.
All right, I'm gonna just. I
think
it's just grab a break.
I want to say it may have been 18 something. Gosh, I have to go back and look at it. It's been a little while since I've done it. Anyway.
Did we do the step?
We did.
Okay.
I did.
You did.
We stepped
Some
together.
Step happened.
Some stepping happened.
So I'm going to take my red over to my yellow and I'm going to make an orange. A nice kind of bright orange. And I'll mix that into my brown. I'm going to begin the busy business of painting the fawn's head and body. I am using this as an undertone. I like that as an undertone. I am using a Textura Bright number 6.
Right.
Just any bright that you want. And I'm going to begin with this because I can come in and highlight over it, and that'll be nice. Inside the ear, I'm going to go a little more yellow. Because there could be light coming through, right? There we go. A little white and a little yellow. Well, I've got that color. I'll bring it over here. Pull it in. A little of a lighter color for inside the ear. There we go. Oh, this is going to be cute. Okay, so we're putting that in.
Get the highlights in the ears.
Yeah, we put some highlights in the ears. We're going to keep playing with the orange and the yellow and the kind of fawn color. As I go back, I can get a little more orange into it. A little more brown. It's just a little more coming back here. Maybe a little more brown coming over the bum bum. The bum bum. And I am paying attention to the directionality of the fur as I'm painting this cutie patootie. I am going to pay attention to that. I may put out some more brown. I'm not struggling for my brown and some more yellow and red. It's a good idea not to make yourself struggle for color.
Right.
Why struggle? You've no reason to struggle, and you've so many flowers left to do and so many fawn things left to do. Don't make yourself struggle. Looking really good. Okay. So what we need to do, we are going to make this look very much like fur, but we also have to get value, right, in the fur. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is play with those things. Like if I have a little bit of my brown and black, that's, you know, a good value for where maybe the fawn has its leg bent up into itself. Because if you remember, they fold up like a Swiss Army knife.
So they can hide in the bushes.
So they can hide in the bushes. They do that fawn fold, and then there you are. So you want to make sure that as we are, painting them, we're aware of that nature of them
Mm-hmm.
to do the fawn fold. I can always get a little more white, brown into a color. Like say right here. I'm just painting it in. I am paying attention to the directionality of the fur. And yes, even though we know most of this leg is going to be under the grass, I still want to paint it a little bit so whatever is peeking through
Mm-hmm.
is not struggling. I'm going to add a highlight where the leg is kind of bent and coming out. Now, right here, we're definitely into sort of a different range of the brown. So I'm going to get more into my yellow and brown here. Dealing with the foldable fawn.
Mm-hmm.
And they do. They fold up
It's true. They do.
and hide. Very hidey. I don't think about how much Bambi could hide, but Bambi could hide. It's a good idea to start talking about those just simple little values. Now coming around the nose, we know we had some gray. Now we would go more into a light color. I'm going to lightly brush up. Bring this around here. Join up the eye bone. I'm doing short little kind of hair-like strokes. Just to start to, imply that there's hair. Add a little more brown and orange into that. I think it's a good idea to pay attention to the directionality.
Mm-hmm.
Making very light color. Very lightly over this, so I'm kind of lightening it with dry brushing. Adding those light markings as we go. But I know where they are because we put them in earlier. And that's helpful. I can always go back into my gray. Make sure that that has a little bit of a point coming up.
Right.
Just working it up. Overstroke there. Sometimes you'll do that. You'll be like, oh, that's too much. It's okay. Don't panic about it. You just go back and be like, nope, nope.
Oh, sorry
Just
about that, guys. I forgot the reference.
The fur colors. We
Sorry,
know
Heather.
we're going to be putting in highlights through here. We know we are.
You know it.
I know
Highlights
it.
are happening
Highlights are happening.
because doe, a deer,
A female deer.
and then ray,
A drop of golden sun.
that highlights the deer.
That's right.
So you got it all.
We got something anyways.
It's the beginning of a song.
The beginning of a song, perhaps the beginning of a movie or an adventure of a lifetime. There we go. Again, you just start to get that work in. There we go. The beginnings of all that. Looking pretty good. So let's call that a step, and then we'll pull it all together in the last one.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And then we got more flowers because we're so busy today. We're so busy today.
Baby deer in flowers.
I mean, we really did.
There's flowers and a baby
make the
deer.
basset hound seem so simple. You'd be like, that basset hound was so easy compared to deer and flowers. But you're going to love it. You're going to love it. All right. So now I'm going to show you the cool of cool. And there's a couple ways that you can do it. But there's a tool called a grass comb or a filbert grainer. This is a grass comb. And what that is that's a filbert that's been trimmed up. You could also take little tiny scissors and trim up a filbert to make it do this. But sometimes this will really help you get your details out if you don't want to paint like every hair. Until then, let's just make a light fawn color though, which is our kind of brown with really a lot of white. Let's come here. And just enjoy some of what's going on here. You can't believe your ears, right?
Mm-hmm.
Taking that light fawn color, and there's this wonderful sort of structure that in the air that we can play with. I'm taking in my highlights and making sure they're quite light. I brush that in, playing with that in as it goes, making sure you've got some nice little bits. So there's some areas where I want to use a detail. Now you can either, and I'll show you the one way, you can come through and create your little fur colors, right? And you can come through and kind of do lots of little wonderful little lines. Or you can take a greener. You can paint a lovely fur scape. To make the greeners work, I find that the paint needs to be, or the filberts, the grass combs, the paint needs to be a little thinner so that the hairs can come out. You can also do a similar effect with a, and I may put out some fresh paint in relationship to all this. You can get a similar effect with a hog bristle brush. Be similar. I'm going to put out all my little colors again just to make sure I'm good. And then I'm going to put out some white. And that way if we have to, add some fluid to it, we can do that easily. So I'm going to get this quite wet. Come in and my yellow and my white and my brown, and need to a little bit of red makes some great fawn fur colors. Just enjoy.
Ooh, little ears.
Little ears. You can always come in and get a little ear. I'll put some fluid out too. Sometimes it's easier to work with.
This has been a really nice time hanging out with everybody. I know I've been kind of quiet over here.
It's just a nice little relaxed painting.
I've been chatting and chat here. We have a really wonderful group of people here, both on Facebook and on YouTube, chatting away. So if you haven't joined us in chat, please do. It's really
so
nice.
So true. We're kind of lighter up here at the front of the face. A little bit lighter at the front of the face.
Karen's, what size is the deer itself? I would say medium-sized.
But I have no idea how to size deer.
How many? She probably means how many inches on the surface, rather than like anything to do with the real deer itself.
Find out if that's true, because that I could find out. The actual size of the deer, I will never ever know, but I could probably find out how big it is on the surface.
We can measure the surface, but the deer itself could be between. I say I'm not a hunter. I like deer, looking at them and watching them walk across the yard. So I couldn't tell you how. This is a baby deer. It's a little one. It's a medium-sized deer.
Smaller than your average deer.
Smaller than bigger.
More brown.
And cute. It's the size of cute.
A very important size, the cute size. Cute size of deer can never be underestimated.
Larger than a mogwai, smaller than a cow.
Adding little bits. We're just adding little bits of dimensionality. I'm going to load up with the brown and the yellow and then some of the white. Now coming around, we know we've got, a little bit of fur under here.
Can you talk about the contours you're doing with the brush on the face?
I can. I need more information to do so, though.
So the brush strokes.
What specifically is the question?
The brush strokes you're doing there are constructing the lines of the face, and that's like that cheekbone you're doing there.
Yeah, I'm trying to highlight the cheekbones so that you can see the deer structure a little bit better. They have a fairly defined jawline, and then there's this cheekbone that comes in from the ocular cavity, and then I'm just trying to make sure that whatever I do on the
Now she's deep in thought. She's also the brush strokes are the direction of them.
I'm paying attention.
Fur.
I'm brushing my strokes are going the direction the fur grows.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at how the fur grows, and then I'm also looking at the value of the fur. Trying to get that nice sort of shape to everything.
It's a very nice shape.
And to get it, I'm going to add some little light highlights inside the ears because they deserve them. And come here and maybe get some pure brown. Then over the leg, we'll come forward, and then around the elbow, we change the direction of the stroke.
Mm-hmm.
to show how the leg is folded. Get a little more into my yellow and brown. A little more into the brown as we come here where the belly is shaded.
Yeah.
This is going to make the crazy fuzzy belly a lot easier just because you can do it. And again, you can do this with a little tiny brush and just do similar brush strokes. You would just do them a little bit slower is all the difference is. I'll take a lighter color and I'll kind of work it in there. But I don't want to lighten the value so much. All right. Come around the flank. Again, I find that these work a little bit better if there's more, if it's a more fluid paint or you've added more water to it.
Those little deer, you can see their rear wheel drive by those big muscles in the back.
They are super real world drive.
And they can leap like almost vertically over an 8-foot fence. Just.
They really can though, can't they?
It's incredible to see them go.
And take a little bit of black and brown and kind of work that here. And the little bum bum.
Really, really amazing when you see them in nature just kind of cruising along because they're like, I'm just being a deer.
See how we're curving the brushstroke around to show the curve of the bum bum?
Mm-hmm.
Is bum bum. Is deer bum bum. I make it orange and get it into my brown. A little bit of white. Again, you could just sit here and take a little brush and be like, same thing. Just takes a little longer. Right? I do recommend this brush if you're going to be painting animals a lot. If you're just painting one time, I say make your hairs one little hair at a time. Don't worry about it. Get a little more brown into it. Over the top of the leg. We're still sort of showing the hair here. And we know we've got plants going in front of him. So, I mean, honestly, we know we're going to, you got to watch these short handled brushes in your water cups because sometimes a little bit of the water hides on them. And will come up and surprise you out of the blue. Now, here, underneath, this unusual doe font, like kind of fur. But if you do know something about deer, you know what this is called.
Belly fur.
I'm going to say it's down.
It's the belly fur.
But it's some type of very sweet white.
So there was a couple good questions here. Where'd they go? Claire says, thank you for doing all the tutorials.
Oh, you're so welcome, Claire.
She just really appreciates it and had to take a break, but looks forward to getting back to it. And Misty was asking, do you ever find yourself flaw finding in your work after you're done?
Sure. John won't even let me get away with saying no, I don't. Yes. And that's what we have to get past as artists. That's the thing we have to not let ourselves fall into is being in the flaws. And you really have to start examining things like, why do you paint? Do you paint to be perfect or do you paint for other purposes? Right? And I think most of us actually probably paint for other purposes. Right? Though we may be perfectionists in our life, I'm not, but many people are. Even you wonderful, beautiful, amazing, organized perfectionists are probably not painting for the goal of being perfect. And come in and add a little bit of dark. Loading up with some black. So yeah, I think anybody can fall into the trap of comparing. I find I have certain times in my life where I struggle with it more than others. You know, if I'm in a cycle of maybe insecurity, I'm more likely to fall into that, and I have to do more work to maybe stay above it
Now, if you're
in my process.
if you just tuned in here on Facebook or YouTube, will this be
Look at that.
available later?
Yes, these are always available for replay. About 7 to 10 days after the video, we release a step-by-step out written companion, the step-by-step instructions to the video, only for 2021, that you can use to follow along. And we timestamp these, we chapter mark them, so you can find what you're looking for again later. If you're looking to, you know, paint on, you're like, oh, I need to find that one spot again, we're going to make sure you can find that one spot again. Adding little details. Now, of course, we love the little dots. Let's get a little dot series going. They're pretty white, but not pure white, of course.
Yeah. Does the grass comb brush have little slits in it?
Yes, it does. And you can, so this is a filbert that has been pieced with something, right? I think if you're a hairdresser, you have those little shears that make the bangs uneven. I can make my own where I take a filbert and I take teeny tiny precision scissors and I trim in there. You don't, the thing is there's some other brushes that are kind of like this, but I don't like them as much because these are too evenly spaced, right? I like this and the grainers. Like here's another type of grass comb. This is a crystal brush grass comb. This is one by, this is a comb by Simply Simmons. You can generally find those in Michael's. And they're just a little bit pieced out. And it's natural enough that you can, they're much more useful to me, in my opinion.
Useful.
Than the ones that look like ladders, or just, you have to work so much harder to hide the stripes on the ones that look like ladders. Now I'm on the edge of this brush. And much like my flowers, I've got to do big and small. Right? You want to think about how you randomize up these patterns. Nature certainly did. Nature cares how they're done. Because when they're done well, the baby can hide. And we do want the baby to be able to hide. So this is what we're doing. We're doing the hiding. I find I have to turn my brush a couple of directions to be able to get the randomness that is required. If I stay with it, it happens. And bring it down. I'm just looking for the pattern. You can do this. You just got to breathe and take your time. You've got to do it one little hair at a time. Do it one little hair at a time. Don't feel like you can't. But much like a fan brush, sometimes things make things just a little bit easier to do. Yeah, fun to do. Then we put the flowers up front. It's going to be like, wow! A little work.
This is really nice.
A little effort.
Yeah.
Oh, Darcy Colley says that it's a sweet little face. Oh, it's fun. It's cute too. Here we go. Just adding our little dots. Our little eyes hiding from the bad guys in the woods. Eyes hiding. Doesn't this meadow seem like deer heaven? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like where deer are like, they tell each other of the big meadow where the flowers are sweet and bloom and there are no predators, there are no wolves or hunters in the big meadow.
You know what? We make deer out like they got all these predators all over. They can handle themselves. They are fast. They got these big rack of horns. They got groups of friends. They're not like deer. Like if you ever stood up and seen a full deer with like, I don't know, just even like 4 or 8 points. That's like a lot of points pointing at you. And unless you had something other than your hands, you should like not be there. Because that deer will get you. It could. But I mean, like, I'm not trying to get in it with a deer. I'm just like,
Are you not trying to get in it with the deer?
No. Deer comes into my backyard. I'm like, your backyard now, man. I'm just going to watch from way over here.
I felt like that till the roses got it. And then I was like, hey.
We can replace roses.
All right.
They
Guys,
go back.
we painted a fawn.
Look at that.
Look at that. Now we're going to put some flowers in front of that fawn.
Uh-huh.
What? I know. And then
Is
it's
this
going to be
steppin'?
like, it's a steppin'.
I can see that
It's
happening.
a steppin'. Steppin'. Steppin'.
This is a convenient 15 step.
It is is it? I don't think it's 15 and done for
No,
life.
but
I
we're
just
on
think
15.
it's a good time to change your water. Probably a pretty muddy water. It's a good time to change your water.
Water?
Now we get to just now, and we kind of know the flowers, don't we? Now
You do.
We sort of understand how the flowers came together. And this coffee I'm not drinking. It could be microwaved.
Oh. It could be,
All right.
couldn't it?
So it's basically everything we did back here, but up front, layering over the front of him. Similar brush strokes, similar flowers, similar things. We got a couple spike flowers that are unusual. We might pull some focal poppies just because, we can. And we just want to place him or her in this field tucked in with the blades of grass. The first thing that I will do is I'm going to go back into my cat's tongue like before, and I'm going to pull out some green paint and some burnt sienna like we did the first time, and a little bit of our cad yellow. And I'm going to begin the process, trying to add some white to it.
Flower.
Grass in the grass.
Yeah.
Sometimes dark green, sometimes brighter light green. Now I might be a little more because these are up close.
Mm-hmm.
But we still want to make sure that they feel as random as they can.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you are going to paint over a little bit of your hard work. That's okay. We didn't put our best flower under the fawn, so it's already a win today.
Mm-hmm.
Changing up my greens. We've got flowers that are going to be coming over the top. Sometimes it's a darker green. I'm just putting in those wonderful brush strokes like we did at the beginning. And I'll add more yellow sometimes, and I'll add more white. We want to definitely change the direction. and the thickness of this. And of course, individually, sometimes, we're going to have nice long strokes there, kind of coming across. See how we're filling in a world that is overgrown. And this is seaming our background flowers to our foreground flowers and placing our main subject, which is our deer, in a world that is real and exists. Sometimes we add a little more yellow and a little more white. Sometimes you gotta get a little more water to improve the flow. Some strokes are long. You definitely want them to go different directions. You want to be heavier sometimes so that they thicken up. And this, by the way, you can practice regularly. You don't just have to discover what your grass is like on a painting that you've decided to do. You can get a scratch piece of paper and practice your grass stroke before you apply it to the canvas. It is allowed. Practice is allowed. Now, when I have a bunch of these little lovely grasses kind of going, I'm going to also get a little bit of my yellow and white and some green into sort of a brighter thing. And we'll definitely add some leaves maybe that are different types of plants. I'm kind of tapping this. I'm just trying to make different little foliage textures. The implication that other stuff is growing here. It's not just grass, different types of flowers, different types of things. It's still important even now. And you can see what I mean about yeah, it's crazy. It was crazy and it's hard to see it when you don't see all the parts like the hooves and everything. But once we get everything in, then it's like, oh, okay, I get what's happening. What's nice about all this different green too is that it gives you places to tuck flowers into the grass.
Lots of people are loving the deer.
He's very lovable. He's the most lovable. I do absolutely love that on, in these live classes that you guys get to really see process. So that if you're like, man, this took a minute, you can see that, oh yeah, that totally is normal. That does take a minute, doesn't it? And that is something you should expect. Let's call this a step, and then we'll come back and start to add some flowers to this gorgeous front space. Isn't that gorgeous?
Really is.
When this is all done, this is going to be one of my favorites, just because this is, I think this is one that I have wanted to paint for a long time, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for a long time I had an idea of a fawn and flowers. What I've learned is mother deers do not just drop their fawns off in fields of flowers where they're easily photographed.
No.
That is not what they do. And, and maybe some of these are not good for the fawns. I don't really know, but that's not a reference that was existing out there. So I would find a fawn maybe like in some grass or with a few wildflowers, but mostly not. And so it was really about finding a position that I liked and then finding the dream of the field that I liked. That's what I had to get into. Now, much like in the beginning, we have got to paint our flowers that are going to be yellow white first. We kind of know what that deal is now, don't we?
Mm-hmm. You're still getting them, just getting all of them put in there so that you can come back and add color.
That's right. You've got to do this so that when you come back with your yellow paint, that they are exactly, what you were hoping for. Otherwise, they're just kind of dim and dull. I paint just the shape of the flower. And then, much like back here, we're just going to do it in 2 values or 2 tones. When you look at certain flowers, they'll have like kind of specific shapes. And if you just paint the petals, you can get really stuck. But if you take time and just observe, like, well, this flower is mostly round. These are mostly like kind of little irregular little circles that sometimes layer over each other. Some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller, but that's what we've got is circles that layer over each other. Okay, so while I'm painting an endless amount of white, soon to be yellow flowers, I have to say to you, if you have Disney Plus, or kids have Disney Plus, check out Loki, because episode 5 makes everything worthwhile. We won't tell you why it makes everything worthwhile, but it does.
Mm-hmm.
The best Loki and that I've ever seen, my favorite Loki ever, is in episode 5. It just gave me life. And just loved it so much. So much. You have to like Marvel, and I won't spoil it, but I was not as happy with Black Widow as I could have been, and I was really surprised by that because I've been happy with everything Marvel. It just wasn't for me. So Loki has really redeemed itself in my mind. And again, I won't do any spoilers. If you've been wanting to watch it, I don't want that to get ruined for you. So we're much like we did in the background. I am making sure that we just have little clusters of these guys that would come together. See how we do? I think it's so important to realize that placement and positioning also, certain things tell us that something is a flower, right? Certain things say to us, oh, this is a flower.
Mm-hmm.
Or this is, a leaf. And a lot of times it's arrangement. That matters. All right. We've got that in there. All right. Now, while I'm here, I'm going to put out a little more fluid paint.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, let's call this a step and dry it and then put the yellow in. We're going to do this so that we don't get lost in the forward white flowers.
Okay.
We have so many forward white flowers. I feel like if we don't dry it and put the yellow on, we're going to get lost.
Step 16. Oh, we're going to dry it. We're going to dry it before we do that. So she got me. I didn't hear her say that. So, yeah. Thank you guys. I'm going to go over, look at this. We had so many folks go over 300 likes. Thank you guys. The little thumbs up and stuff. And yet, still, I see some people who have forgotten and have not thumbs up yet. So thank you for all the thumbs up we have. And if you haven't thumbs up yet, then do that down in the little area below. They have that little thummy up thing. You just click on it, and it makes everybody in there like the thummy thing. It's a gizmo.
What are you talking about?
Pushing the thumbs up button.
You want to comment, actually.
Comment. These pictures.
Tell me, like,
share.
If you don't cuss, I might even let you tell me that I'm not any good. Start a fight. But it is good to comment on your favorite creators' videos. It really helps them. Because I'm live, a lot of times people don't come and comment after the show because you guys commented 1,000 times. But the algorithm is looking for you to comment, so if you think of it, I would appreciate it greatly.
It does like the comment.
It does like the comment. And it doesn't go, people probably chatted out. It used to be that they counted the chat comments as our comments, which I think is fair for on the replay, but now it does not. I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow and my red, and I'm going to make it's still going to be a yellow, but it's going to be a yellow biased a little bit orange. Like a yellow-orange. Right, that's its tertiary. I'm going to come in and paint everything I painted white completely with my yellow.
Yeah. Those little yellow dots coming in.
The yellow's coming in. Love my yellow. I love my yellow flowers. This is, again, even better than I had hoped. What I had wanted to do, what I had wanted to paint. I wanted this painting on my channel. Like when people are like, do you have a picture of a baby deer? I want to be like, this one, yo. Tom Hiddleston is Loki. That is true. Oh, man, I don't know, man. I have just loved this. I love this. John and I, again, we're not going to do any spoilers, but I will just say that some of the sets and designing and just all the work of this, I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Black Widow, not as much. Oh my, what is going on? But this I super duper loved. And it's okay if you love Black Widow, that's fine. We all get what we need out of Marvel or Star Wars or whatever fan property you're into. It just did not do it for me. And I wanted it to, and it almost did, because everybody was super talented. It's not like, and it could also be that I've just been home and I've seen all the TV in the universe for everybody. Like, I watch, like, non-American TV now. If you've subtitled it and it's in the genre of sci-fi fantasy, I've probably seen it.
True.
Like, every single fantasy Korean rom-com, seen it. If it was subtitled and it was in that genre, seen it. All of the Nordic ones, Scandinavian ones on any of the, like, Thor mythology that was subtitled, seen it. I saw the one where it was, like, super subtitled about dead rain, killer rain. I'll watch it.
You're into it.
Yeah. Nothing stops me from watching in my genre. Sometimes it's good, sometimes not good. You know what was really good? Was Raising Dion. That was really good. There's been some really good stuff that has come into my world that I'm super grateful for. Aren't they lovely, the little orange flowers? You do want to get all of and you can put little yellow pops in there because they'll be a little muted. They'll look like they're deep in the grass. See how that does?
Yeah.
That's okay. That's a good thing to do. That you do want muted. Show was produced in the Netherlands. Yeah. Ragnarok. Yeah. It is cool. I watch it. I don't know what. It's so weird. I don't get Freya. I watch it, though. I don't care. I watch it. I'm caught up. I love it. I watch the show.
Yeah.
John doesn't show up for anything. He's, like, showing up for, like, Ted Lasso and Loki because I made him.
I have many things that I have to move around.
So to go from here, we've got to dry it and then do a highlight.
Okay. Dry it again, and then we'll do a highlight. This shouldn't take too long to wrap up. We're almost there. This is pretty close, I think. I'm pretty excited about this. I can't wait to do a little more blue and the blue flowers up front, and that little pop of purple flowers. And then that'll be pretty much it. Looks like super close. Super. I can't wait to see the rest of the little blue flowers come in.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. But first, we must do a light yellow. So
But
take
first,
a little of my white over to my yellow. And we'll make a very bright cad yellow with just a little bit of white. So it's super poppy. To be a poppy, you've got to be super poppy in color. And these marks I'll make maybe a little more considered. You don't want to paint over everything you have. You're just basically saying that some of the petals are lighter.
Hmm.
See how we're making these?
I do.
They're multi-dimensional. Sounds like Twix is back. What are we feeding that dog? What? Oh, she's eating zombies. What? There she is. I knew she was here. It used to be that John would get in trouble for her farts.
But there's no mistaking it.
Yeah. But then we've learned, oh no. And like it's my mother-in-law loves dogs. Okay, like sometimes even more than people, loves dogs. And she loves Twix, but sometimes Twix gets removed from the room for farting.
This dog knows how to clear a room.
There we go, adding those little bright pops of yellow, and it just makes them cheerful, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt you to take the time to do the work. Because then when you're done, oh, I know I love you too. Doing the sad growl because I'm not picking her up.
She'll survive.
I can't get to her. See, when I'm over at the easel, I have a clear path to pick her up. But over here, it's a little more challenging. But she doesn't know that because she's a dog. All she knows is that it's pets time.
Yep.
Pets time is pets time. Showtime is not even my kids are like, it's the show. The dog is like, I don't care what you do for a living or how you feed me. I don't care. You pet me now. Never have said her name. Somebody hug the dog.
She's over here. She came to me.
She came to get some hugs from you since I failed.
She's okay.
I failed my job. Okay. There you go. So that's how the poppies look up front in the front. Now dry this so you don't drag paint across your painting, and then we'll come back and add more flowers in the next step.
Okay. Oh man, we're getting so close to this. Just a few more flower layers and we're going to be there. But thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us through this, being part of our art family, doing this with us. It's really nice. We just love having you guys here. Don't forget, if you need any of the resources, they're hidden down in the description down below. You can find out more about what we're doing if you click on our channel. There's lots of if you go to our website, theartsherpa.com, there's a calendar out there that'll tell you all about the stuff that's coming up.
So I want to shout out Philbert Grimm, who says he loved doing this Tiny Secret Whispers painting.
Yeah.
And for whom who said, is that Whom Lan B, who said, I love this painting and I'm doing it from Sweden.
Step. All right.
Step. Step. Oh, and for all you guys who came over and have been following me on Instagram, thank you. And for all you guys who came over and are following me on TikTok, I appreciate the support. I don't know what I'm doing over there, but I am having fun and weird stuff has happened. Weird stuff has happened. Um. So, yay! We're going to be doing a bazillion tiny flowers.
That's so many.
So
That's so many
many.
good
We're
numbers.
going to use a small detail brush,
It's a good number.
and we'll definitely be in our fluid paint, and I may put out fresh fluid paint. You will notice if you paint with the fluid a lot that it skins and dries up pretty fast. You've got to, I want just a little bit of purple in it, but mostly they're white. And we do kind of the little star pattern of all the little flowers. So some of them are a little bit more defined, and then you can kind of fill them in with like little partial flowers or dots or things. But it's just a lot of this. You'll find if you had a lot of stress, is as long as you don't be a perfectionist with yourself, right? Where you like every dot is criticized, you'll find this very relaxing. If you're criticizing every dot you make, one, you're being too picky. It's not necessary at this stage, but it will take away the relaxation that the flowers would have given you
Hmm.
if you just did them in a calm way and not be mean to yourself. Don't be mean to yourself. There's on Apple TV, there's this new show, Physical, which is, I think, kind of maybe loosely based on the beginning of the fitness craze in sort of the same way that Halt and Catch Fire was based
Mm-hmm.
on the beginning of tech. But the lady's self-talk is so mean. I'm struggling to watch it. And I got sad thinking that there are people who speak to themselves like that inside their head, or that in my life I've spoken to myself like that inside my head. And it's amazing how often we're our own bully.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need another bully. We're doing a real good job bullying ourselves, huh?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Don't be a bully to yourself. You don't need that.
Mm-mm.
Don't do it. Not every one of these will have the purple center, but it is nice to put them around. The lightness of these flowers is what makes this a very charming. You know what this reminds me of is the tapestries, the unicorn tapestry, whose name I used to know by heart, but now I don't. Anybody remember the name of the very famous unicorn tapestries where they did the flowers all around the?
Yeah, that was the
I used to know that name by heart.
it was the like the ladies' garden. It was because there were two ladies that were sewing in the scene with the unicorns laying down next to them.
So Donna Mobley says, wet palette, don't you have one? Why aren't you using it? When I say that I've been lazy and haven't said it, that is exactly the truth of what's going on there. So I had been so busy painting studies, painting to get ready for things, that I just haven't really put the time aside to set the wet palette. And it needs to be back because I do like them and it makes this job so much easier. And you remind me how much easier it is when I have the wet palette.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much easier.
Little tiny flowers.
Yeah, you just gotta do the little tiny flowers because they pull it together. You know, and they are in clusters.
Mm-hmm.
Just putting out these little dots.
Yeah.
It's not quick. It's, you want to think about where you're growing flowers. You want to make sure that it feels like how fields of flowers, the way that they are so perfectly together and yet so completely random.
Yep.
You want to make sure that you're capturing that. I like the detail brush for getting little bits like this. It makes me slow down. I don't tend to do whole paintings in them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm right now working on some weird painting project where I put a lot more time into a single painting, and then I'm thinking of painting over it.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be so cool.
Do this thing. But also so you can see like, and I'm gonna post like stages where I'm like, this was 30 minutes, this was, because I would see these pictures, these paintings on TikTok, and they're like 100 hours, and I'm like, you mean like 20 hours, and then you went and did some other stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Because that shouldn't have taken that long. And so now I'm gonna go, is my thought, is my thinking, is it accurate? How long would it take me to do that? Because it's been a minute since I've done that. So my belief, I'm going to go find out if my belief is correct.
Huh.
Sometimes you have to do that. You have to check your beliefs.
It's true.
You got to shake out the amygdala and make sure it's not amygdala leading you the wrong direction. Sometimes we have beliefs that are just not true. And that's not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Should not be scared of new thoughts or new ideas. Oh my goodness. If artists were scared of new thoughts or new ideas, there'd be no art. It takes new points of view to grow creativity. And again, you just gotta shake out your crap every once in a while. So I think it's important. I like to make sure that I
There. Making small ones on the other side, and I didn't pay
I
attention.
like to just make sure they're distributed so that down low looks like up top.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take a little of my purple. I'm gonna get it into my fluid paint, make a pretty dark purple center, but fluid enough to dab out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come over here and dab it out. Not everyone, but just enough to give them little centers, little faces. Sometimes the way I paint them almost gives them a face. So I like to show their little faces. Like, you have a little face, and you have a little face, and you have a little face. Look at this go, guys.
Mm-hmm. It's looking really nice.
We had a weird start. Sneezes and all kinds of things, but I think once we got our sea legs underneath us,
Yeah.
we have it together. All right, let's call this a step, and we'll come back and do some more flowers.
We're gonna be able to
Bazillion D steps.
bazillion D steps. That's okay.
This is the Bazillion D step 1. But I think you can kind of see that it is coming together.
It really is.
In
It's
a gorgeous way.
Almost there.
And we're almost there. And that's nice, isn't it? To be almost there. To be nearly finished, nearly complete. All right. So, I'm gonna put out a little more purple so it's fresh. I put out some quinacridone magenta. I'm putting out some dioxazine purple. Purple if you're on the abstract pouches. And I'm gonna put out a little more cat red just so the paints are fresh. 'Cause I need fresh paints. Fresher paints.
Fresh paint.
And there's some really wonderful spike flowers, which I like, which are kind of like hollyhocks. So I think I'm going to definitely include some of those. I'm going to grab some of my quinacridone and some of my purple, and I'm going to mix them together. And then I'm going to add a little bit of white so that we just have a nice brighter purple.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to come here on my round brush. And tap out. So I'm like, I don't know, they could be like foxglove. Probably not, though.
Mm-hmm.
And just tap it out. Some of it's purple. Maybe it's a little darker some places. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of little dots. And you can just put these around in the grass.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes more purple. And then maybe, come in and we have these sort of like phlox clusters of purple that are more like plums.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. We have the upward spikes and then the low clusters. I'm still tapping the brush up and down. These are sort of in the down low growth. Rinse that out a bit. Let's come back with a little bit of the blue and white. So this is the phthalo blue and a little white, and we're going to make some of the cornflowers.
Wow, this is really impressive. Very nice.
And this is just about making sure that things have colors next to each other so that it just, if it was in the field, it feels like it was in the field.
Mm-hmm.
That was weird, but I'm going to go with it.
Just gonna go with it.
So just like sometimes with flowers, it's okay. You can totally go with something.
Wow, those little blue flowers.
You need some blue flowers. They just cheer everything up. I'm going to rinse out, and while I'm here, I'm going to take some of my quin and some of my red together.
Yum.
And do some of these low-growing kind of hot pink ones.
Hide the poppies in there.
They're not really poppies as much as there was just another little very red flower. It's a different red than the poppy.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yes, we come back. We got this in. Now we're going to come back and we're going to finish with some poppies. Be sure to dry this before you go on to the next step.
Okay. Yeah, so this is the part where we're getting to the last layer of flowers. Almost there. I think that it's just a couple more to balance the colors, and then I think we're going to be done. I'm not sure if she's going to call this another step or not. We'll have to see. It could go either way. But you're almost there. Almost there. We made it this far. Just a little bit more until all the flowers are done.
All right. I think this is the last one.
Are we going to step this?
Yeah, we're going to step this and then we're
Okay.
done. The end of the poppies, the red poppies, we're going to be over.
This
Not
will be
for life, just for this class until I see you again for, I think the Basset Hound is next. Unless you're coming to the amazing Flamingo watercolor, which if you haven't checked out the watercolor channel, go look at the upcoming Flamingo. It is life.
Mm.
It is life. I love it so much. It's straight fire. Am I allowed to say that? I don't know. But it is.
It's awesome.
It's so awesome. It's so
We're loving
it. I really do love it. It's just gorgeous. And then the Misty Morning Lake that's coming up after that. And, you know, I was like concerned at first when we started doing watercolor lessons, but definitely we do a unique thing even so in the space of the real-time live step-by-step lessons. So I think it was been a good move to make.
Yeah.
All right. 20 in short. There's a marketing thing. In just 20 short steps, you can paint a deer. All right. So we're going to take our purple and mix it into our cad red to make kind of our darker red that we're going to build up from, right? We got to build up from our red. We're going to make our little poppy shapes. I think the poppies are important.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to put more of them in the field because you've got to have balance to the force of your flower.
It's true.
There we go. Rinse that out thoroughly.
Just came
dry
together.
this, and then we've got to come back with a brighter layer.
Okay. Just one more layer. That's a little. So, wow. Okay. So she just fooled me. I thought that was just going to be like a just a little bit of a dry, and then she'd be done. But no, she wants to thoroughly dry it so that we get thorough. Yeah, and see.
Woo!
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 I don't know what the woo 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 woo.
I don't know. I'm here on step 20. Heather sees like, can we make it 21 steps? She's like, more steps. There needs to be more steps. All right. So I'm going to take my pure cad red, like you do. I'm going to load it on my number 4 round. And I'm going to add some highlights to my poppies. I don't want to paint out all the shadows because that's what makes the poppy. And then I'm going to take a little yellow into my red and make kind of a brighter red. I don't want it to be totally orange, but I definitely want it to be brighter.
Oh, those do pop.
Just to pop that last little pop pop.
Pretty awesome.
Pull that out. We've got those red poppies. We've got our yellow flowers. We've got our blues and our purples. It's amazing. I'm going to put out a little bit of the black. Heather C's like, oh, we have a record to break.
We do.
Not today. Oh. But I do have to go because I've got to talk to my Facebook manager so you guys know. No 21 steps. Thank goodness I put the alarm on.
Mm-hmm. But that's okay. We're getting close.
No, we're just the black and then we're done.
I know. That's why I was just
Yeah, it's not a biggie.
looking over at all this.
Not a biggie, not a biggie, not a biggie.
Mm-mm.
All right. There we go, guys. We have fawned in a field of flowers. We have used art for what it is for,
It is true.
which is to create things that don't really exist, make them real for ourselves. Making kind of like a light green. I'm going to come here and just sign, but in a way that doesn't disrupt the piece. You
Wow.
can see it. You know I signed it, but, it's not some crazy thing that, pulls everything. We did it.
You really did.
We did it. We did it. We did it. This is not a small project. This was huge. This was super huge, guys. I cannot wait to see yours. I know it's going to take a minute. I get it. But I can't wait to see them. I hope you enjoyed the lesson and seeing how something like this might be constructed. I'm sure there are other ways to do it, but this is how I did it today. I want you to be good to yourselves and be good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.